everyone. Welcome to new episode of Packed Webinar and Podcast. Today, my guest is Carolina Katnarova. She's a consultant for HR operation, more than 10 years experience in Europe, Middle East, and recently in USA. Welcome, Carolina. How are you?
I'm very good. Hi, honey. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. I appreciate your presence with us in Impact episode today. And today, together, we will discuss and we will dive in the fascinating world of HR and why HR is a big issue with some people have two extreme perceptions about HR. Either they consider it as a rule guardians, or some people they consider it the champion of the workplace harmony. A lot of issues related to the HR, the performance, the attitude, HR not approachable, HR doing sometime tough decision, HR have negative image with some people experience.
Very much.
So a lot of questions will be addressed by our guest today, Carolina. How are you? Again, let's start
I'm good.
with the
I'm
first.
excited.
Me too. Okay. Um, why HR is really critical or very important for organizations?
Sure. So let me start with saying that usually when I introduce myself to someone new and I say that I'm HR specialist or HR consultant, they make a
Mhm,
face. They're
mhm.
like, HR,
Plastic
okay.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone has some sort of experience with HR, which is not always favorable.
Hmm.
And I really get it because I've met lots of other HR people as well, and not all of them are professional. Not all of them love what they do.
Hmm.
And I do love what I do.
Yeah.
I've loved thinking about how people behave, what motivates them since I was very young. And this is why I studied psychology, and eventually later on I studied HR management. And I'm
Mhm,
very happy that I chose this as my career. A few years down the line, I still love it. I still want to, learn more and specialize more. So I'm very proud to be one of the people who are trying to explain to others, business leaders, employees, and young people who potentially would want to go into HR, what HR actually is about.
mhm,
So why HR is critical is that, simply put, HR is usually the first people you see in the company and also the last people you see in the company very
mhm,
often, right? They guide you through your whole time with the company, starting with being approached by the HR representative of the company after you applied for a job or after they found you themselves for a role. Then, all the interviewing, all the onboarding, everything is done or should be done at least by HR, right?
mhm,
So every step on the way, HR is there with you all the way till the end. If you have any issues, HR is there with you and is there to support you, guide you, help you, explain things to you. So wherever you look, kind of there is HR in the correct case. So this is why it's really critical that it's done well. And also the other reason is that HR is absolute basic for organizational success. So again, simply put, the role of HR is to find employees which are good for the company and motivate them and guide them in a way that they're happy to work in the company so the employees can enjoy their time whilst working for the company and the company can make a profit at the
mhm,
same. Well, that's what we are looking for, right? So
mhm,
even though HR is not a department which is earning money directly, it is a department that can save a lot of money. It can
mhm,
also spend a lot of money if things are not done correctly again.
mhm.
So these are the reasons why is it absolutely critical that HR professionals know what they are doing and they are doing it correctly.
Perfect. And before we go for what HR exactly doing, let me add just one point here that HR, like any other department in the organization, that our main purpose is growth and profitability. So why, again, we are critical or our job is critical because we, our main issue to make the balance between the organization and the people. So what HR doing inside the organization to make this balance? Okay.
So that's the hard spot to be at, really. So I would say everyone knows Switzerland, right? Switzerland is a very neutral country in Europe. It's not leaning towards any of the sides, towards any of the opinions. It kind of like stands alone. And that's how HR has to function. So a lot of people, a lot of employees don't like HR because they feel that HR always supports the company and doesn't care about people, but it's not true. So the HR is there as a third party, as a mediator, as a outsider in a way. So my goal as HR person is to explain to you as a business owner what you should do and why,
Mhm.
and make it happen. And for the employees, I'm there to guide them and to make them understand also like what they are part of, where they are, what they are trying to achieve. I'm not there to kind of relay the information from management to employees. If I don't agree with something, what the management is telling me, I need to speak up and I need to share with them. I think one of the biggest qualities that HR people need to have is very strong backbone. So you need to have the ability to say, no, you are not right. I don't agree. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
do that.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, you are just put in all sorts of directions, and you just can't be really truthful to yourself as HR specialist if you don't know how to say no. So you have to say no to management, you have to say no to employees.
Mhm.
Very often, you have to know what you are doing and you have to go in that direction and not to be afraid to act in a way that will make you stay going in that direction. So yeah, it's not easy position to be at all, because we us as humans, we have the need to be liked.
Mhm.
And by saying no, we are not really making people like us, right? But we have to be able to make people like us,
Mhm.
even though we are saying no. And that's the difficult part about it.
Mhm. How to say no?
Yeah, how to
That's
say no
that's that's
nicely.
very important also for the
Yeah,
HR when
yeah,
you deal with them, with the top management or with the employees.
yeah,
How to say no? It's very important. So
yeah.
when we discussed before uh, what the HR doing, you told me a lot of things about being empathetic and skilled communicator. I want you to explain um, for the audience what HR doing with the people, not with the company.
So with the people first, when we are starting to onboard someone, and onboarding starts before the companies actually enter the company, right? So what we do is we make them understand what the company is about, what the culture is, what the style of work is. We have to ensure that there's a fit also between the employee and the company in terms of culture and ways of doing things. Because I personally believe that's more important than their skills. Skills can be taught,
Mhm.
but who you are can't be taught, so there has to be a match
Mhm.
between the candidate and the company. So when we start onboarding them, we have to start managing expectations. That's important part also. I'm sure everyone experienced a situation when things were promised to them, and when they entered the organization, they realize it's not really the case, or that's not what's happening. They were told something, but the reality is different. And this is called psychological contract, the kind of idea we create in our heads about how it will be working from the ABC company. And then we enter the ABC company and it's completely different, and our psychological contract is not fulfilled. And this is where we start thinking about, should I stay or should I go?
Mhm.
A lot of people leave in the first 6 months because their psychological contract was not fulfilled.
Yeah.
So it's extremely important to manage expectations from the beginning. And even, if there are some negative sides, like sometimes you might be required to stay long. Is it okay with you? Things like that, just be truthful. Don't try to just say the nice things and then hide the
Mhm.
worst things for later,
Mhm.
because it's not going to help.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what we do, right? Then the employee to enter the company, and the first few weeks are critical with the employee, because the employee has to settle in the company. They have to learn about the company. They have to learn technical skills like working with some new softwares.
Mhm.
It's you have to be ready also. You can't have the employee joining and not even having email created for them the first week. The employee will be just sitting there and doing nothing. So you have to be prepared. There should be some sort of online training as well,
Mhm.
like anti-money laundering, and depending on what your business is doing, there should be some online training which the employees have to complete at the
Mhm.
beginning. So that's usually done in the first weeks.
Mhm.
They have to be introduced to the workplace and to their colleagues as well. So they start settling in. It's a little bit difficult for us as adults to enter different new environment, new people. So, help you need to help the employees to fit in. Some people are shy and they find it very difficult. So,
Mhm.
but they might be brilliant employees. So you don't want to lose them just because they didn't, sit well with the colleagues. Um, there might be some sort of issues, disagreements, misunderstandings at the beginning. So we have to make sure that we are open and we are supportive to the employee and they understand they can come anytime and ask anything, ask for help, ask for explanation. We also have to make sure they understand all the benefits and ways of doing things. And sorry, my voice is going away.
Mhm.
And how the annual leave works, and all these kind of things. Um, it goes without saying that there should be employee handbook in the place already, so the employee actually can go and read it. But I believe that it's just a basic decency to explain it to them. Take the time and the effort to explain it to them in person as well. And if they need some further clarification, they can check the employee handbook.
Mhm.
But they should be explained in person. Um, yeah, really, this is I would say these are the most important things. If this is done correctly, then everything what follows after is a lot easier.
Yes.
Any learning development needs, uh, any sort of issues that can come, during the employment, if there is good beginning of the relationship between the employee and HR, it just tends to go a lot easier.
So the first step and the most critical time for any new employee is first 2 weeks or first months. That's why every time when we dis when I talk with any people work in HR, focus on induction. It's very important. How you receive the newcomer, how you explain the culture, how you help them, how you let them feel comfortable and encourage them. And after that, HR should focus on learning, training, solving any issues or any problem, showing care for the people. It's very important to let them uh, feel that you are here to support them. And um, the HR should be perfect as much as can, not perfect. Let's say good listener, at least to listen to people, uh, because that's the most issue. The employee, he needs someone to listen to him if he has complaint, if he has any issue with the workplace, with management, with software. As you mentioned, it's very important activity for the HR. Um, why do some people uh, feel that the HR is just administrative work or just rules, guidance? We
Hmm.
are here to implement policies and procedures. That's all. Why some people feel like that?
I think it's because some HR people, and I'm not gonna call them professionals here because they are not. So some HR people are just working based on like a box ticking kind of approach. So they are not personal, they just go through the steps, they go through the motions, but they are not personal. They don't adjust their attitudes or their way of behavior, their way of communication, depending on what they are talking to, like who they are talking to. Like, it's a very big difference between onboarding an administrator and onboarding a director, or onboarding a factory worker and onboarding a financial manager. You have to behave differently, you have to speak differently, you have to try to understand where the person is coming from, how old they are also, because sometimes you will have freshers who have no work experience. So you cannot assume that they know something, you have to treat them like like beginners in the workplace in that sense. You have to explain everything to them because they have not experienced it before. But someone who's 50 has seen the good and bad
Mhm.
for sure, but they have seen a lot of things. So a lot of things go without saying for them, right? But
Okay.
for the younger ones, you have to be very
The new
specific
generation,
sometimes.
not
And
only
depending on
specific,
the
you need to
generation also.
understand because the different generations, they have different perception, different needs, different um, dreams. So how you will deal with them, it's another issue. That's why HR is different because we are dealing with human. We are not dealing with numbers
Mm,
or machines or
exactly.
equipment. Some people also they hate HR because sometimes HR take tough decision. Sometimes the HR terminate or uh, hire different people. You give me some CVs and you recommend them, but I hired another people, so you hate me. So people should understand that uh,
Mm,
our decisions when it comes to hire, fire, or promotion, it's not our it's not our decision alone. We are just reflection for what they do or
mm,
how they perform or their behavior and their
mm,
attitude. We make recommendation, we make advice, we provide for the top management fair recommendation or fair reports about the people attitude, the people performance, the people outcomes. Then the decision, not because of the HR only, it's because of how you perform and how you act. You agree with me? That
yeah,
also part
absolutely.
of the
Yeah.
negative image.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one of the main reasons why HR has negative images because it's being told that HR is just, firing and hiring department. So the hiring part is a little bit better, more positive, right? But depends on how it's done also. But the firing one, obviously, that's never positive. You can't really find a good way how to fire someone, right? And as you mentioned, we are in most cases messengers. Yes, I said that it's really important to not just agree with everything and be able to say no.
Mhm.
But there are instances where someone is not performing up to par, and the line manager or the hiring manager of the manager is just not happy with them. And we as HR, we review all the paperwork, we ask the right questions, and yes, we establish that we agree with the manager. The employee is not performing. We have to fire them, unfortunately. We can do it in the most pleasant way possible, but it will be always a negative process, right? So I think in this instance, it's important not to be just like, okay, you're not good enough, bye, but explain to them what has been going on. Give them a chance also before firing them. Give them a month or 6 weeks to improve. Be specific. Tell them you have to change this and this and this. If they don't, then, fair enough. You have given them enough chances, enough warning, and, you have to unfortunately let them go. But yeah, it can never be done nicely. It's never nice, and it's not nice
Believe
for
me,
us either.
even you
We don't
make it
like that.
nicely, even you make it nicely, they will hate you.
Of course
Because
they will, and
finally
and, and
you
it's
give a
and it's fair,
chance,
right?
you give training, you give any support they need to
Mm,
improve their performance. But when it comes
mm,
to termination,
mm,
I will leave your office and I will talk very
mm.
negative and very bad. Yes,
Of
HR, that's why
course,
they hate us. Uh,
yeah, of
I
course.
met someone before, like what happening with you when you mentioned that you work in HR field. I said I'm HR consultant. Then the guy said, "Uh-huh, the people who ruin our happiness and our fun." What do you think about this?
Just hang now for a bit. Can you
Uh,
repeat it, please?
the people they think about us that we are the reason of destroying their happiness and their fun.
It's a little bit strong statement, I would say, and also depends on what you consider as fun. If coming to workplace and playing games on your phone whilst, drawing salary is a fun for you, then yeah, like it is a fun, but you have to also understand that you are getting paid in exchange for your effort and skills and time and everything. So I mean, sometimes you have to take these things with a pinch of salt also because, people like to complain and they like things in very specific ways which are not realistic whatsoever.
Mhm.
I remember one girl when I was very young, when I was studying and I was working in part-time basis in office, in a financial office. There was a girl who was paid per hour, and she used to bring her laptop and she used to play games on it. And she was very surprised when she got, kicked out of the office and told that she's not gonna get paid for these hours and not to come tomorrow. Because for her it was fair enough, to come with the laptop and just spend time, playing games and still getting paid per hour. I mean, like that's also like I think we can have as much experience as we want in HR, but we still sometimes get surprised also by what some people are able to, come up with and think that it's fine. Um, so yeah, we can't make them all happy, we can't please everyone. It's still a
And we should
workplace,
understand also that part of our responsibility, the compliance, we be committed. We will be very flexible with you, but sometimes we need to take tough action or some decision. It will not make all the people happy because it's part of our responsibility. My mission
Yeah,
as a HR, it's divided to two parts. The first part, support people and uh, build a very good, healthy, and dynamic culture, and also to protect the company because I'm here to make the company grow and make more profitability. So I try as much as I can to be flexible, but you should understand also that I have job, I need to get it done. Okay.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, sometimes they don't understand it, and it's true. Like our main purpose is to make the company better and bigger, right? So
mhm,
they can earn more money, we can earn more money, we can hire more people can have a job, which means all the people who are currently employed with the company have to perform properly to allow this to happen. So it's like a
yeah,
circle. And so we all have to be in it together. And I think this is understanding which some employees don't have.
mhm,
They feel that they are like entity which stands next to the company or something, but they don't understand they're part of the system. And everything around us is system, right? Every state is system, every company is system, every team is a system. And it all has to function together for the whole system to function. If some parts of the system start falling apart, the whole system will eventually fall apart. So I think that's something which I would like people to understand, that we are there for some reason. It's what we do is not always pleasant, is not always for a purpose to make people happy, does not always make us happy as HR
mhm,
people.
yeah,
But we are doing it for a reason, and also we are usually reasonable people and open to feedback. Just
mhm,
speak to us.
mhm,
I think that, yeah, people are scared that if they come and tell the HR people something like, I'm not happy with this and that, they will get fired. I don't think that realistically happens very often because, especially if you're a good employee, because replacing good employees is not easy.
mhm,
So we will try our best to work with our employees and develop them rather than, getting rid of them and replacing them, because that's not really very efficient process. Um, Lost my thought a little bit now, but yeah, I
That's
think I
enough
think
at
there
this
is lack
point.
of
That's
understanding
that's
from both sides
uh,
sometimes.
okay. Why also some people they think that the HR unapproachable. They are tough. They are. It's linked also to the same point.
So I have had people who are trying to befriend me in order to get me. That happens quite often, especially when you are new.
Mhm,
I've noticed that because I've changed my companies relatively often, and every time I entered a company, there was someone who tried to get close to me in order to have like special place, special allowances, and special information, right? you have to be, again, very strong, and you have to be able to notice these things, understand them, and say no. Say, okay, I will be here to help you, but I'm not gonna give out information like how much your colleagues are earning, and things like that. And yeah, people ask me this. They did. It's crazy what people can ask sometimes. Um,
Mhm.
so sometimes we have to be realistic and say, no, we
Mhm.
can't go there. This is not professional. This
Mhm.
is, I think, one of the reasons why people think we are not approachable. So also sometimes they come and ask us for exceptions to,
Mhm.
there are some rules and
Yeah.
which we have to follow, and they want exceptions for
Mhm.
XYZ reason.
Mhm.
And we have to tell them, no, I can't do this anymore because, payroll closed, or, this is against the rules, so I can't do that,
Mhm.
or it would not be fair to other people.
Exactly.
Um, Sometimes also we are, busy with something. For example, when the payroll comes, so there are like cycles in the HR life when things have to be done, especially towards the end of the year in preparation for the next year. And we are really busy and we do not have a time to have a chat. I would love to have that chat with you in August when there's nothing to do. But I cannot have a chat with you in December when I have, 5 deadlines tomorrow.
Mhm.
So, there's sometimes you get a little bit overwhelmed and stressed, and you have to like shoot people down, like, no, sorry, I can't talk to you. And yeah, they can take it a little bit personal as well, but it's not personal, it's just, the timing. Like, we we are human, we like to speak to other humans, we like to share. Your experiences. We are usually interested in people and how they think if we work in HR. So we would like to hear about whatever you want to tell us, but sometimes it's not the right time also, and
Mhm.
that
Yes.
might, yeah, that might create that feeling of not being listened to.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Uh, I remember we discussed one time before about also the other side because we talk about the positive side and not positive side. Sometimes the HR they avoid problems. They cannot manage the problem. And I remember what you said to me exactly that they hide their heads in the sun.
Yeah,
That's also,
that's, I think,
yeah, continue, please. Yeah.
I, I think it's something what is again very natural to humans, that if we don't know what to do, we just try to hide from the problem and we pretend the problem doesn't exist.
Mhm.
But they usually come back and bite us. I think we all know that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've seen a lot of HR people trying to ignore the problem or making a mistake and trying to ignore the problem. And in HR, if you make a mistake, it usually has consequences on multiple other things because the problem is usually related to data. And HR data is quite sensitive thing, right? So hiding away from the problems is not the best solution, I would say. Um, Yeah, they are, but
Yes,
on the other hand, we have to understand they are still just people, right?
and the HR, especially HR leaders, they should be strong personality, never feel hesitated. Um, gather the information you need. You have your uh, enough experience. Take the right decision. mm, Be strong. As you mentioned before, know when to say no. And if the people they need really your support, you should support them. Learn how to know for the to say no for the management when you need it. Uh, Try to make the right balance between the people and the organization. So we are not selling ice cream, so not everyone will be happy, but at least do your job. Don't hide yourself. So that will lead us
Yeah.
for the next point, which is um, for the HR professionals, the people who want to work and success in HR field. What knowledge, skills, abilities required success in this field?
Bridge the previous topic and this current topic. One of my previous managers, who I valued very much, told me that you are not coming here to make friends as an HR.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to make friends, this is not a place for you. Just very, very sharp, I would say, very rough to hear.
Mhm.
But I understood what she meant, and I especially learned to understand later on when I started working in the company why she said it.
Be friendly
And it
and
was really
nice
good
to the
advice.
people when you need. But sometimes
Yeah,
you
so
cannot be a friend with everyone.
yeah, exactly. And that's what she meant, right? Because you have to stand in that strange position of being outsider and being third party again. And you can't make friends with the employees. You
Yeah.
are there to support them, but sometimes you are there to not be nice to them, to tell them bad things, to tell them you have to improve, and you can't say these things to someone when they are friends. So you have to really be professional and make sure that you are not going to put yourself in some difficult position.
Uh-huh. Okay, but before we talk about the competencies, because you opened this topic, my approach, or I believe that I should be friendly and nice to the people. But when it comes to the decision making, there is no friends. It's business.
Exactly,
That's
exactly. So you
that's
have
the
to be
balance I
professionally
say.
friendly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to
So
be open and you have to be empathetic for sure, and you have to listen to people. And sometimes people need to talk to someone about their personal things as well.
uh-huh,
Like, for example, you have a fight with your wife, and you come to work, or husband, or anyone,
uh-huh,
of course, but you come to work and
mhm.
it affects you, right? And maybe you don't have anyone to talk about it. So,
You can ask
sometimes
time.
it's the HR person who you are gonna need to talk to, or, I will meet you somewhere in the kitchen making coffee, and you will look all sad, and I will ask you, because I'm friendly and approachable HR, I will ask you, oh, you look sad, what's up with you? And you will start telling me about about things that happened to you. That's very often it's one of the parts I like the most. And that's one of the situations when we are very liked, I would say, as HR people, but it's not always like that. So yeah,
No,
we have
but
to find the balance.
when you listen to them and you show that you care, they will respect you. They will engage more with
Yeah,
you.
they
They
do.
will help you because finally we are HR, but we take decision. We try to implement policies and rules, and we make some activities, some functions. Okay, we need people to help us. We need the people to trust us. We need the people to uh, push with us what we are doing. So if they personally like you, they will help you more. But
Of
there
course,
is a
yeah,
limit.
that
But there
helps.
is a
Yeah,
limit. Sure, I agree with
yeah.
point that there is a limit. So going again for the question I asked about the competencies and the abilities. I want to work in HR field. What I should have from what kind of knowledge, what kind of skills,
Mm,
and if I so if I want success in this field, what kind of
mm.
abilities I should develop. And
So I would say the most important, obviously, is understanding of HR. You need to really understand the employment law. What does it mean? You should understand some sort of like case law, what happened before, why these things were implemented, what are the consequences of all sorts of different things that can happen. So you have to be a little bit of a lawyer, I would say. It's really important. I have seen a lot of people who do not understand employment law, and I don't believe that they can be proper HR specialists if they don't. Because I think the nature of HR is that you can't follow any sort of manual. You don't have any guidance on what to do and how to do. And most of the situations are one offs. So you have to be really flexible and you have to have the understanding. You can't just stop the situation and like, "Oh, I need to study on it. So yeah, you need to understand HR law, HR related laws very thoroughly, I would say. Then you have to understand the HR processes also, the theory behind it. What is onboarding, for example? What is it good for? How does it look like? Um, all sorts of processes, onboarding, offboarding, management. Like you need to have leadership skills. Also need to
the technical
understand.
the technical skills or the
Yeah,
technical knowledge
yeah,
of the HR, you must be good.
yeah.
Okay.
Also HR technologies, right? Like most of the companies have some sort of softwares now. So small companies, they might still be doing things manually, but I would say companies with more than 50 people, they typically have some HR software, at least basic one. So you usually need software. So for HR data, you need HR software for payroll, for performance management related sorts of modules which you might need in HR. And the bigger the company, the more HR tech will be involved. Very often larger companies also have like HR self-service system. They have all these, AR bots. Um, they have this service now system where you can put your question or your request and it goes to the correct team. Someone assigns it. You need to be able to do all these things. You need to have quite a good technical understanding, I would say, because very often as HR, you will not be just in the position of working with the software, but you'll be in the position of setting the software up, also fixing it, improving it, troubleshooting it. Everyone in the company will be coming to you, all the employees and manager. How should I do this? How should I do that? Where do I find this? Where do I find that? This doesn't work. So you need to be HR tech also, like
So
IT
as a
HR
part,
specialist.
that's a part of the knowledge of the law, the knowledge of the employment
Mm,
law and HR
mm,
technicalities, and the software or ERP,
mm, mm,
whatever the company.
mm,
What about the competence or the abilities and the skills?
mm. I would say you need to understand business also. That's another knowledge which you
Yeah,
really
sure.
need. So at least basics of business, basics of financial principles, because you need to really understand what kind of impact your HR decisions will have on the
Mhm.
overall
Mhm.
company performance,
Yeah.
right? So you're not working in silos.
Mhm.
HR is connected to every other department in the company,
Yeah.
and you need to understand at least the basics. So
Mhm.
how companies work. And again, the smaller the company, the more you need to understand, because the more variety your role will be. So you will be, wearing more hats. If you're in
Mhm.
smaller company, if you're in bigger company, you might specialize in something. So you might not need to understand everything else. But I would recommend to everyone to start at smaller company because you learn more
Of
and
course.
you really need to, work on your understanding, on your learning continuously. Um, and obviously you have some core skills which you need also, right? Like soft skills. So you need to have very good communication skills. You have to be able to communicate your thinking well. You need to be able to hear, actively listen as well. You have to
Mhm.
be good in written communication also, because sometimes you need to create these HR processes and policies. You need to write them up. You need to write emails. You need to communicate with directors, CEOs. You need to communicate with everyone in the company. So you need to be able to adjust your style of communication,
Mhm.
depending on
Exactly.
who you are talking to and what are you talking about.
Mhm.
Then you have to have strategic skills. You have to understand that, okay, today is today, but we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, in a week, in a month. So you need to be agile, you need to be strategic, you need to understand that my decision today might impact something next year.
Mhm.
So again, we are not working in silos, in time-wise also, not just working on something that's happening right now. Things keep changing constantly. The company might decide to go through some sort of change. They might merge with some other company. They might change the departmental structure or something. So there's lots of organizational change also, which is going on in companies all the time. So we need to be able to manage that. And one of the most important steps, or from the HR side at least, about organizational change is to manage the change with employees,
Change
keep them
management.
involved. This is
Exactly.
like something also I feel lots of people don't do. They just present the changes to employees, and
Mhm.
then they are surprised that they are getting a bad feedback. So again, that goes with the other things also, right? It's like all works together. You need to be able to lead also, lead by example, lead teams, motivate teams, not only HR teams and HR people who are working with you, but other people as well. You need to be able sometimes to, motivate the leaders themselves also. The managers, they might be new to being managers. They
Yep.
might not know some things, and you are the one who do. So you have to really be able to speak to people well. You have to be able to motivate them, give them feedback so they can improve. And you have to make lots of decisions all the time. So you have to be really, you need to know what you're doing. And of course, you're working with all sorts of people. You're working with people in the company, but you're working with vendors as well, with people outside of the company who are supporting your business. So you need to be able to build these relationships. For example, if you are using recruitment companies, if you are a smaller business and you don't have a specific recruiter, very often you will use outside recruiters. And then again, the outside recruiter is getting employees for your company. And as I mentioned, the culture fit and the personality fit is really important. You need to be able to build a very good relationship with this
Yes,
recruiter. So the
definitely.
recruiter can understand what you're looking for, who
Yes.
you like. And I have noticed this in one of my roles that that sounds very simple and very like, yeah, just find someone, but it's not that easy, really. It takes some time to build that relationship. The better relationship you have with vendors, the better service you are getting. So that's really, really, really important. And of course, you need to be able to analyze things also, right? So you might be working with lots of data, especially when you are doing things like salary increases and bonuses. You need to be able to analyze lots of data. So you need to have that kind of thinking, but you need to have that kind of knowledge as well on how to analyze data. Um, we have the softwares for it which help us, but still we need to be able to. We need to understand what we are doing also, and obviously we mentioned a lot of the things already, but you need to be a very empathetic person. So people come from all walks of life. They have all sorts of experiences. They have all sorts of expectations. They have all sorts of needs, and we need to be able to understand and address all these things because that's what we are there for. Um, and we have to be very fair also. There are policies, there are processes, they apply for everyone. They apply to cleaner, they apply to CEO, in the same way. And we need to be able to understand that. We need to be able to speak to a person for whatever they are. And we have to speak to people for who they are, not for what they are. Regardless of their title, regardless of their background, regardless of their income, we have to be able to speak to them as person to person. Um, and one of the, I think, initial difficulties what HR people have is confidentiality. So it was a little bit easier for me because I studied psychology, I did psychoanalytical training, so I learned this early on. But there's like a natural tendency, I think, of people to be like, oh, you know what I heard today, or someone told me, you have to stop doing that. And you have to learn to always stop when this kind of thought comes to your brain and think, can I say it or not? Because HR is very confidential, right? You have so data protection is very important, and starting
Yes,
from never leaving your laptop or your computer unlocked when you are leaving your chair, making sure that no one can see your screen, no one can see the data which is on the screen, the usual sensitive data, but also not to speak to anyone about anything that is work employee related because it can be sensitive.
it's not about HR only,
Um,
it's about ethics also. You work in
yes,
HR
of
or
course, and
not
there
in
are lots of
HR,
things
you should not release the
in
confidential
general. Yeah,
information or share any
yeah.
confidential information with anyone. Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say the direction the world is going in, this kind of situations will be more and more prosecuted as well. So there were lots of cases around the world where the company was not careful enough. There was some sort of sensitive data leak and they got massive fines. So, this kind of things are coming to UAE as well. They are still they're still coming there. They're still in the process, but the rules are going to get tougher and tougher. And I think it's good to have this kind of ethics and habits from the beginning. So be very careful about your data because you can never be careful enough. And it's very often it's better to just not say anything rather than say something what could be misused by someone. Um, and yeah, what I like the most about HR is that it keeps changing constantly. So it's never, the same way as it was yesterday or the month ago. It's constantly evolving. It's been a new discipline as well, right? And in the years I've been in HR, which was not that many, I have seen so many changes
Mhm.
in all
Yeah.
sorts of ways. So, in 20 years, the whole HR will change completely. So you have to keep learning, you have to keep seeing what's new, and you obviously have to keep learning about the employment laws or how they change also, because they do change quite a lot. So there would be typically updates every year. You have to be always things. We have to understand lots of other things as well. You have to keep learning about the business side of things. You have to keep learning about people. You have to keep learning about societal changes. You have to keep learning and you have to be natural curious
Mhm.
and want to learn, because it's not something you can just do because you are, forced to, or someone will tell you have to learn this and that. That's not going to happen. You yourself have to be active, and you also have to look for the information and, keep on the top of things. And that goes with being adaptable and flexible, because things keep changing constantly. They can never be done according to some sort of manual. So, yeah, you have to be flexible. You have to be fine with the fact that you have some to-do list in the morning, and in the first hour of your workday, it will change completely, and you will not get even one thing done from your to-do list because something happened. And you need to be able to prioritize and time manage very well. And you have to be okay with it. You can't get stressed because that's just part of the job. So yeah, these are the most important ones, I would say.
Perfect, Carolina. Let me just make summary about all the skills and the abilities you mentioned. In the beginning, we said the knowledge is very important, and not only in HR, in the law, in the other functions like finance, like marketing, like production, market awareness and business awareness about you work in retail, you need to understand retail. Work in manufacturing or construction or healthcare, you need to understand everything in this field. So when you take any decision, it will affect everything in the company. So that's the knowledge part. For the skills or the abilities, we said the leadership, uh, change management, organizing and time management, and flexibility, uh, sympathy and empathy, and um, sure, the communication skills should be uh, very good communicator, good listener is a part of communication. We said also uh, the ability to make analysis, to make your job, to make researches, so you can think in a strategic way and you can take the decision that the company need on the long term. Allow me to add also before all that, the passion. If you don't have passion, if you don't love really HR, you cannot success. We are not dealing with number again or machines and equipment. We deal with human. So
Yeah,
it's different kind of job. That's why it's very critical and complicated, but I enjoy it. And everyone success in this
so do
job,
I.
they enjoy it really.
When
Okay.
you say it like that, it sounds crazy, right? I was a little bit laughing for myself when you were summarizing all these skills and attitudes and knowledge which I mentioned, because it just sounds like so much. And it sounds like one person can't have all that, right? And I think this very well describes the fact that it is not easy to be HR.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we can't get it all 100%. And this is why we need a little bit of flexibility from the side of the employees also, so they can see us as people and they can give us the feedback also if they feel that we are not doing something right, because there are lots of requirements which are on us, which we have to fulfill. So it's not
Yes.
easy.
But I want to tell you that all what we said, it's part. We didn't mention everything. We didn't talk about
Yeah,
teamwork. We didn't talk
yeah,
about psychological side and people behavior.
Hmm.
HR should
Hmm.
study people behavior, should study
Yeah,
psychology, even not academic,
correct.
but at least read and understand because you deal with
Mm-hmm.
people, you need to
Yeah.
understand them. When you talk to somebody, you need to understand the person, not the words, what he's saying. So it's a lot of effort, a
Yeah.
lot of things you need to know and to be open-minded and able to learn. That's
Mm.
for me, that's number
Yeah.
one. Able to learn,
Yeah.
you can success in anything.
Mm.
So um, I think we covered the area now of general in our general discussion about the HR. Let me ask you here, what advice would you um give to the business owner or the CEOs about the HR?
Yes, I could speak for a very long time about that, but I will try to be concise.
Okay.
See HR as your friend. HR is there to help you, and HR is there to get the business where you want to be. It's not there to stop you from things. It might look like it sometimes, but it's really not the purpose. So do not underestimate the importance of HR. It's very, very critical position, and it should be in the leadership. It should be on the board team, should be around the main table. It's not administrative department which will just push paper around.
It's a
It really is not.
strategic
It's very,
partner.
very strategic.
It's not
Yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah.
administrative. Yes. What else?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Administration is part of HR, right? But the HR representative you have has to be strategically thinking person and will work with you very closely on everything you do. Or that's how it should be at least. So do not underestimate this. And, really like have your HR people close to you. They're really important.
HR shape your strategy to be implemented. The HR is
Yes.
the first department in your business, in your company, will transform your vision to reality. We
Yes, correct.
do things in different way to make your company grow and make more profitability so you can thrive. Okay, and what if you want to send message for the HR people?
Especially to young HR people, I would say that HR is a very fascinating department. Maybe we have discouraged some people now with the expensive list of requirements without even mentioning the nice to haves. But it's fine for people who like to learn and like to develop. I think HR is a department where you have to keep learning and developing your whole career, and you will always have something to learn. So it's not a stagnant career. It's not something which will become boring after time. And I would say that's the most interesting thing about HR for me, at least. So if that's something you like, then you will like HR. If you like people, if you're interested how people function, you will like HR. And sometimes, if you're in bigger company, you don't have to work directly with employees. Also, if you are scared of that, you can specialize in something. You can be in the background and just be specialist in benefits, compensation, analytics, something like that. There's so many interesting areas in HR. I'm mostly generalist or specialist in operations. But there are lots of other more narrow specializations in HR which you can get into. So I would say a lot of people can find their spot in HR, to do what they like the most and what they are good at. So yeah, don't be afraid. It's HR is always going to be there. There are lots of jobs which will go away because of AI and all sorts of developments which are going on. But HR, in my opinion, is never going to go away. The responsibilities change. The administrative part is getting easier because that can be done by softwares and machines and everything. But the strategic part of HR will always be there and will always be needed. So yeah, if you want to have your career for the rest of your life, I think HR is quite safe bet.
Um, Anything you want to add, Carolina?
I would say I would like to speak to employees as well because I'm sure there
Yeah,
will be lots of employees
yeah.
who will be listening to this webinar. And yes, we are really, most of us, we are nice people. We are there to help you. We are not enjoying to make you miserable. Just talk to us, work with us. HR people go into HR because they like people. So uh, we are still people. If just speak to us, give us the chance. Try to forget about your past experiences because we are not all the same. Um, and yeah, we will love to learn from you also.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Um, it was very nice discussion. Let me just make summary in 2 points. The first point, in the modern organization, the HR name now people and culture department or people and culture specialist, people and culture manager. So your primary job as a HR is people, to care about them, help them to learn, to grow, to be motivated. Uh, the second part is culture. Your job to build
Hmm.
the dynamic and healthy culture so your people will be more engaged, encouraged to innovate, to be initiative, and it will improve the productivity and finally the growth of the company. Simply, it means human resources. So it's mean human, care about human. If
Hmm.
you don't care about human, you are not HR. That's the summary of this discussion, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen over the last few years that lots of companies are changing the name of the department from HR to people and culture,
Mhm.
um, all
If we
sorts
will
of
be
yeah, well-being. I think it is
people
because
happiness, I find a lot of companies now they make people happiness.
it's very UAE specific, yes.
Yeah.
And I find it a little bit gimmicky, but I think if you say people partner, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Uh,
HR, human resources, can sound a little bit technical. It can sound a little
mhm.
bit like humans are resources, um, to be used and maybe exploited. That's why some companies are changing it to people and culture, because I think that describes how they want the department to work better. So yeah, I
Mhm.
agree with you.
But
We are there for the people and to make the culture great for everyone.
I hope to be translated to action, not just title. That's my main issue here. Not saying people and culture, then finally you will find the leader of this department. Uh, he do all the mistakes what you mentioned before.
Yeah, you have
Carolina.
to you have to hire people correctly, right? And
Yeah.
you have to be able to pay them also. If I say it very simple, like lots of companies, I feel they're just trying to find someone cheap because they feel like, oh, HR is just admin departments not earning any money. So they will pay their salespeople and marketing people, but they will not pay their HR people. And you get what you pay for, right? So, you
Sometimes
have to
depend on the owner
understand the importance of
philosophy and
HR
yeah,
and you
yeah,
have to budget for it also. That's,
yes.
I don't know how to
To
say
get
it
the
more
right
nicely, but
people
that's part
so
of
they
it.
can help you. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Because it's an investment, right? You invest into your HR person, and that will show in your company profits. That's just how it is. That's the whole idea of it.
Exactly. Exactly. Carolina, I think that's enough for the initial discussion. Sure, we will discuss a lot of topics related to the HR and strategic HR, manpower planning, a lot of topics we can discuss in the next episode. But I want to thank you for joining me today in this episode. I think both of us would love to hear from the people who will watch us about their own experience
Definitely.
in their company, about the HR, about the culture of the company. And if we miss something, also they can mention in the comment so we can
Yes.
discuss, or if they want us to discuss any another topic in
Mm.
the next episode, I will leave the the URL, the LinkedIn of Carolina and myself. So I hope they will follow us and subscribe the channel to see more next episode. Thank you so much, Carolina. Thank you for everyone.
Thank
See
you.
you next week. Goodbye.